It's always so suspenseful. My heart starts racing at the end of it, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is it!" And then we start. It's not fun. Really? Is that exactly how you feel, Rob?
I feel like that. I told you for 3 or 4 hours before the podcast starts.
Wow.
I know.
You must find ways to medicate yourself to keep yourself from going crazy.
Well, we do try some things. Yes.
We might have to start doing some tests for the testing before we pod. We might end up having to get some replacements. We might be down to I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, I have begged to be replaced, and I'm still here. So
we won't let you go. We are never going to give you up. We're never going to let you go. We're never going to run around and get rid of you. Or something like that. Does that make sense?
Even so, yes.
Demi is back.
A little lyrical.
Was Demi not here for a while? Demi, when was the last time you were on? Weren't you on last week?
I've been kind of like every other week. It's hard, because I've got Wednesday. So every Wednesday through Friday, I'm training, and then that leaves Monday and Tuesday to where I can really make calls, send emails, do other stuff. And anyway, it's just hard sometimes to catch every Tuesday. So I've been about every other week. But yeah, I don't feel like it's been all that long. But anyway, I appreciate being appreciated. So thank you very much for the warm welcome. Welcome back, Toxis 06 SI. Appreciate having you.
It must be because I never leave that nobody's ever excited to see me. Do you think that's it?
You can check out, but you can never leave. That's right.
Right. I should have been a guitar. That was me starting so never mind. All right, well, here we are. What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Doing great. Loving the gear, Nate. You're looking sharp, man.
Say, do I look better today than I do most days? I'm just like, here, let me just kind of.
You look a little pale.
My cat didn't. Hey.
I don't know.
That's rude. Yeah, our new jerseys are in, and these things are sweet. Here's the jersey. And I guess here are the jackets. And if you ordered one of these, you're going to have one pretty soon because they are being shipped out. And here's my last name on the back.
Do I have to wear one with your name on it?
You can only wear one. Well, Rob, once you committed to me the way that you committed to me, your last name is Mindham now too. Don't you know that? What the hell was that?
Well, at least I can pronounce it right.
Mindham. Yeah, Mindham. Right?
Neight Mindham.
Yeah, Neight Mindham. Yeah, that's how it goes. All right. So if you want one of those sweet jerseys, we have a few extra in stock at all sizes, pretty much from medium all the way up until I think 4XL. I think. So that is just reach out to the podcast, reach out to me, reach out to any of these clowns, I guess, and it'll get back to me eventually, I think. So other than that, I do want to give a quick Patreon update because the Patreon, I haven't really talked about that recently. And I wanted to give shout outs while we do a very old school podcast today. So anybody who's been listening for more than about 2 years, you're going to remember what the show was like about 2 years ago. This is what it's going to be like today, all the way through. If you ask nicely, Demetrius might even do a coach's corner, though I can't guarantee that.
Maybe I'll come up with some good questions for Demi.
Yeah, Demetrius only does coach's corners when he's pissed off about something he hears about on AC Billiards.
I go on rants like Jim Telfer, but not quite.
Yeah, well, you let other people talk every now and then.
You're
more sober when you do it. That's the only difference.
We miss you, Jim. I hope you're feeling better. Jim's got the coronas.
Jim's got the Rona for the second time in 3 months. So that'll tell you how crappy his immune system is. He can't even fight off the corona for more than 2 months at a time. So that's fun. And he's not here, so we can pick on him all we want. Although if we pick on him too much, he might end up joining in, and then it'll just be gross. Ugh, no good. All right, so like I said, let's do a Patreon update. I have a lot of people to thank here. There's been a lot of people that have joined in the last few months. I think the incentive for, I guess, all of this sweet gear that we're giving away each month is motivation. But I want to give a huge shout out. I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning of January. So thank you very much to Ed Ladawi, Charles Bozeman, Chris Wagner, Ben Poppies, although he deleted right away. So less of a shout out, but thank you still. Mike Sopko, Magnus Eadstow, Cody Wedding, Chris McManus, Eric Zuberbier. Hopefully that's right. Sorry. Chris Henry, Amy Oubre, Derek Murray, who is actually in here. Oh, wait. No, Kurt Murray's in here, and he's in there too. So Kurt Murray. Kurt and Derek, are you guys related? That'd be interesting. It's spelled the same way. All right. Anyways, Garrett Owens, Rick White, Patrick Neal, Chris Cherry, Tom Kosha, Chad Davis, Ben Kent, and Matt Poland. We've had a bunch of people who have joined in. Hey, we got Patrick and Kurt. Perfect. Well, that's a question for you that you can handle here in a second. So we are giving away prizes every single month. And if you would like to join the podcast Patreon, which is really, I guess, the best way to supporting us and allowing us to continue doing this show, you can do so at patreon.com/Cue It Up something. I think it's Queued Up Podcast, is it? Queued Up something?
Yeah.
I'll get that. Demetrius, you can answer that question.
Yeah, so the question is about posting a favorite pool drill. So one thing I always, my first reflex is always like, everybody needs to drill different things. I consider it like going to the gym. Maybe that's not even the best example because I feel like we could all benefit from similar exercises. But like if I see somebody play, there are some people that need to develop, some people need to work on stroke and tip accuracy, and maybe there's certain drills that hit that. Other people, there's certain drills where if they're just setting up a ball and shooting it again and again, they get too sloppy on their rhythm and pre-shot. So maybe they're better off doing something where all the balls are on the table and they're working through it so it's more game-like. So I always like to watch somebody play before I start lobbing off drills for them to work on. That being said, there's like a couple kind of universal, like without knowing anything about how somebody plays, these are things that I think everyone can benefit and enjoy from. And that one of them is the line drill, where you put 15 balls across the second diamond line. For example, like the kitchen line, you put 15 balls across, and on a bar table, you can fit about 13. And then you just shoot them all in the nearest corner pocket. That's like level one is when they're by the second diamond. So they're only 2 diamonds from the corners. You start with ball in hand on the other side. You just run all 15 balls in the bottom 2 pockets. Yeah. Then you move them to the third diamond, then the side pocket line, then the 5th diamond, and then finally the kitchen line where you're shooting them in the far pockets. And it gets tougher and tougher. And by the time you get, I think personally, I don't even bother with the second diamond or the third diamond anymore. I start with the side pocket line. Right. And by the time on a 9-foot table with reasonably tough pockets, by the time you get to that 5th diamond, every shot, none of the shots are tough like I'm going to practice long jacked up bank shots or something. They're not like that tough. Like you're the favorite to make every one of them. But every one of them is a tester. And what you end up, so like if I had to talk about what skills that hits, it's, it works on pre-shot routine and rhythm. It works on the aiming for thicker than half ball hits because you're shooting a long ways away. And you're also having to come back like with either a draw shot or a stun to the rail and back. So you're always having to hit below center. So your tip accuracy and your timing, when people first start this drill, they're whacking the balls hard to force them back. And so what I've seen is in the beginning, they're leaving themselves kind of tied on the balls or rattling balls out, trying to force the cue ball back. And then as they start getting in stroke, then they start drawing the cue ball to the end rail where they're jacked up off the end rail. And eventually they get to where they're using a lower tip and a softer swing and a good timing. And the ball's just floating back, floating back, floating back. So it's hitting rhythm, tip accuracy, aiming. And then finally, one last thing is that once you get to where you're on the fifth diamond or so, those shots are too tough to grind, meaning you can't just sit there and take deep breaths and aim them and try to grind the ball in. And then, because what you're going to do that 14 more times in a row and then set them up again, it's like, it's too tough. The only way to do it is to start kind of flowing through, and you can't force them in the pocket. You can't control them in the pocket. At some point, you have to surrender and just kind of like let your stroke out and just start sending them towards the hole. And you're going to rattle a few, but to me, that's a great practice drill because when people practice, they tend to get too controlling and try to like control and force and like you just can't do that. Once you get to the 5th diamond of the line drill, it will, if you're trying to like force and control, you won't be successful and it'll start being very frustrating, break down. And then at some point you'll let go of that, surrender, and you'll start to flow a little bit. And I think playing through that drill will, so it'll help pocketing, it'll help rhythm, it'll help pre-shot, it'll help tip, it'll help timing, it'll help aiming, and it'll help flow. And I think those are all really good things. So that's a good universal.
Yeah. I have a easy type of a drill that I like to do, whereas placing ball on a rail. It really doesn't matter if it's a short rail, long rail, whatever. And go at a 1 diamond, 2 diamond, 3 diamond, 4 diamond angle, kind of change your angle a little bit, and just hit the ball in the center of the ball, pocket the ball, and just look where the cue ball goes. So that when you're in a game and you've got this 1 diamond, 2 diamond, 3 diamond, 4 diamond angle at that shot, with no English, this is where the ball's going to go. This is where the cue ball is going to go. I see people all the time make huge mistakes shooting balls. They pocket the ball off the rail, but the cue ball doesn't go anywhere they want it to.
You're right, Rob. When people, I've noticed that there's a certain family of players where they're learning cue ball, where they're starting to understand where their cue ball goes off of an object ball. But once they're coming into a rail and bouncing off a rail, it's like they get much more blurry. And so practicing one rail shape, cutting balls down rails, that's right.
And the other thing I do, I just heard a fellow yesterday, as a fact, he said to me, he said, God, I just don't feel like my stroke is straight, right? And I hadn't looked at it or anything, but I said, okay, here's the tip, and there's a center line in the tip, right in the middle. There's a center of your cue stick, center of the tip. I said, you put that center on the line between the wood on the rail and felt, the green. There's a straight line there. And you put that center of that tip on that line and pull your stick back,
Like John Moore.
Push it forward. If that line stays on the center of your tip, your stroke is perfectly straight. You got nothing to change. And if it doesn't, if it wavers, or if it starts inside and goes outside or outside and inside, you got a little issue. And now, if you're alone, you got to have a mirror that you're looking on the other side of that at the end of the table, so you can see what's going on with usually it's something with your wrist, inside or outside, or the lower part of your arm, or your elbow's not over the top of your head, it's out here somewhere, something like that that's affecting your stroke. So those couple of things, a friend of mine, Curly, said he used to use a mirror whenever things weren't quite right, he didn't feel quite right. He had a mirror downstairs on his pool table that he would look, and he'd look at his stroke in that mirror while he was stroking. Usually he could identify what the heck he was doing wrong.
You want to know what I think you should do? Just take a Coke bottle and stroke into it 45 million times, and then you'll be a master player.
That'll work too.
And you should drink a Coca-Cola in between strokes, and then just keep using a fresh bottle every time. Then you'll
get one of those like 12-foot straws that goes straight into like a giant vat of Coca-Cola. And you have to.
You know what's funny though? I saw about people that do that with the Coke bottle, but I'll tell you. So Bo Runnigan, hell of a player. He's out in California now.
Oh yeah.
And anyway, he did this thing where he decided for and I forget if he told me like 2 weeks or 4 weeks, and I do not recommend this, but he told me that he did not play pool for a month. But what he did is he spent, and I don't want to exaggerate, it might have been 15 minutes a day, okay, which 15 minutes a day stroking into a Coke bottle. And that, at first it doesn't sound like much, 15 minutes, but when you're just sitting there stroking into a Coke bottle and all you're working on is like starting slow and then kind of getting to where you're more rhythmic. He said it was like a meditation thing. He spent 15 minutes a day for a month doing it. Then when he said he got back at the pool table, he was just like super dialed. Anyway, it's funny, man. Funny stories.
Oh, sure. Oh, I bet that would work. Yeah, well, that's muscle memory. You get it right and close your eyes. You know what it feels like. It actually, if you do that and close your eyes, it doesn't feel all that great to have a straight stroke. It feels like you're, kind of awkward in there. But then you know it's right when it feels a little bit awkward.
You know what? I think what I'm going to do, there was a question that was lobbed out that's going to be too much for me to answer here and now. But I think that I'm going to be. It has to do with how do you get into flow state. So what I'm going to do is actually Josh and we did a podcast a week and a half ago that I thought was a lot of fun. We are going to be doing a follow-up this Saturday, and I would encourage everyone listening to check it out this Saturday or whatever we posted. Josh and I are going to be doing a follow up, and I think I'm going to share a lot more thoughts on this. But for right now, my teaser answer would be, I kind of believe this. I don't think that there's something you do to get into flow state. I feel like flow state is kind of the natural state, and then there's things that we do to take ourselves out of it. And it's not about doing something to get into it. I think it's about learning the things that we do to derail ourselves, and then minimizing those things so that we don't sink our own ship more often than we need to. And so more on that coming up here soon on Channel 5.
Well, I think that's
I don't know, Demetrius. I've seen you go into
people do. They blow up.
I don't know, Demetrius. Yeah. Every time I see you shoot your best pool, you go to the bathroom and come back out.
Well, besides
like 3 or 4 times a match.
I mean, I'm telling you, besides pharmaceuticals, yeah. That was the other answer. But
crazy amounts of bathroom breaks in the middle of matches.
That's right.
That also helps out, I heard.
Something that tears the nose right off your face. That's right.
Just melts off like it's like. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right. Well, let's get hopped into
shout out. No, I'm going to shout out too.
Well, we will do shout outs. You want to start, Rob? We're going to go old school. So like we said earlier, if you've been around, well, who the hell did I give a shout out to?
Like 20 people.
That was Patreon. That's different. Those people deserve shouts outs.
Okay. So
Rob, you can start us though, since you're going to be a whiny baby about everything.
This shout, everybody knows Jacoby Custom Cues. And his business started out with one guy in his garage, and now he's got, 20 some employees. Plus he's got employees now that worked for him that are out on their own, making their own cue sticks in different places in the country too, besides that. But anyhow, I'm going to give a shout out to the guy who started it, David. He's a friend of mine. We're about the same age. And he was just in a local tournament last weekend, and I was talking with him a little bit. And it was time for the cue raffle, right? So they're walking around with this $1,400 cue stick selling raffle tickets for $20. And Dave goes over and taps the girl on the shoulder and gives her $20. And I went, Dave, you mean you buy your own raffle tickets for your own cue stick that you give?
You got to get high on your own supply.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm just wondering, And he goes, oh yeah, it's a donation. If I win this cue stick, he said, I just give it to somebody else at the next tournament to raffle off again. He said, so I'm not only donating the stick, here I'm donating this $20 to the tournament too. So I'm thinking, these kind of folks, they don't come along every day. And besides, he plays in local leagues every week, maybe couple of leagues maybe. Plus he goes to a little Friday night race to 2 tournament thing that he was so proud that he just won it last week, where, he has to spot people games too a little bit because he's no slouch playing pool. He can play a little. But it's just that, somebody with his status, Jacoby Custom Cues are known throughout the world. And yet here's this guy donating like that on the weekends and in the community he lives in and stuff. So I shout out to David Jacoby. He's a great guy.
Can't argue with that. Demetrius, you want to go next?
I'd like to go last. Are we going to follow this with a tip of the week?
No, we'll do that at the end of the pod.
Oh, okay, because I've got okay, I'll go next. So my shout out is Mason Cook from Wisconsin. So Mason, how old is Mason, Nate?
22.
21 or 22.
Okay.
21. Yeah.
So I've only known Mason a year or two. We're not like best friends, but like what I would say is that there are certain players that are just really warm, and when you meet them, there's some people that are kind of aloof, a little prickly, a little standoffish. Some people are, abrasive or whatever. Mason is just a really, really warm person. So when I had a chance to meet, talk to him at tournaments or talk to him at the, whatever, I've always just felt like really warm, really like he's genuine, he's passionate, he's a pool nut. He's always been, he's been very warm to me. And very supportive. I've been, rooting him on. So anyway, there's certain people where you're just like, you just want to see him do well. And one thing he's been playing a lot of, he was at Derby. I've seen him at the last few tournaments I've gone to, the U.S. Open, Derby City, and then I was at that Predator event in Ohio. He was at all of those. I'm sure he's gone to a few more on his own that I haven't seen him at. So anyway, He's playing a lot of tournaments. He's starting to hit the balls real well, and he's. I'll tell you what, he's doing well. So anyway, the point is that he got invited to the Matchroom's World Championship this year, and there's 128 players. It's an invite tournament, and he was invited. So he's not he's not a top player yet in the world. He's not even a top player yet in the U.S. yet. But I'll tell you, he's young. He's playing all the events. He's passionate. He's a hard worker. And regardless of his current ability or his future ability, I don't even care. I'm excited to see somebody out giving their all, playing these events, and then being noticed and included. And I'm really proud of you, Mason. So good job and good luck.
And younger too,
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing awesome pool right now. Obviously, I grind against him quite a bit. We play in the same division. We're right around the same Fargo rate, and we're constantly battling each other. So his game in the last couple of years has gone through the roof, and it's great to see because he works harder than most all players in Wisconsin. So it's good to see that when you work really, really hard for a couple of years that you start getting it paid off, and good for Mason.
And when he's on a 9-foot table against top players, he's learned to handle himself well against top players. He's also strikes the balls very well on the larger tables. I've seen it doesn't hurt him at all. In fact, I feel like it just lends itself well because he's got a very big stroke and a lot of firepower and a good accuracy, and he's just when it comes to like full table length open shots and just putting balls in the hole, he's definitely a fish in water. And so it's really good. I'm looking forward to seeing
what he does. You got to give a little credit, I think, to his father, who's been involved in pool in Wisconsin for many, many, many years, owned a few pool halls, and certainly has encouraged him to play. So if you've got that backing behind you, a parental push, that never hurts anything with a pool player.
Well, as long as you don't push too hard and they get burnt out, but obviously that hasn't happened. So
no,
but we all know a lot of stories where that has. So
yeah.
No, I think it's awesome. Good for Mason. And I guess I will move on to my shout out, which is the owner. Well, I shouldn't say the owner, but the person who. Okay. No, not quite. I am going to shout out to Jenny Lynn, who is my representative for How Tips, and I think the CPBA brand. No, Andy's Cloth. I don't know. Andy's Cloth. I think it's Andy's Cloth. Yep, Andy's Cloth. I use her for How Tips, and one of the packages that they sent from China did not have the correct amount of tips in it, and they looked into it and figured out that they had made a mistake on their end, and they immediately sent out more. So I'm sure the shipping was not cheap for that, but they made it right, and you don't always see customer service like that. And I just thought it should be highlighted because, I think she's helped me out quite a bit with a lot of stuff with the How Tips. And I just feel like a lot of companies in pool would be like, yeah, well, sorry, we shipped it from China and it was right and it's wrong on your end. So you're SOL. But they didn't. They hooked me up and sent me what I needed. So I just wanted to give a shout out for that because I think it's pretty cool that they did that. So, yeah. Anyways. We ready to get started with, I guess, the meat of the podcast?
What the how?
Rob, there's hope for you still. All of the old people won at the European Championships. There's hope for you yet.
Oh.
How cool is that, though? Like Ralph Souquet and Niels Fine?
Yeah.
And Niels Fine gets gold and 2 bronze? That's pretty strong.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. He was competitive. Niels was competitive in all the events, all the different categories of play.
Yeah.
Pretty much in the top 10, all those divisions. So.
Yeah.
Ralph is Ralph. I mean, what the heck?
Ralph is what? Ralph has got to be 50.
Slow
down. How old
is
Ralph? I feel like we ask this question all the time. Ralph has got to be 50, 52, 53? Demetrius, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say around there. Yeah. And I'm debating. So I think in a minute, I'll let you guys talk about this, but I've got a story I've never shared on the podcast.
53.
I've got a story I've never shared on the podcast about my first run-in with Niels Fine. And I think people would enjoy it. So let's cover the championships, and then maybe I'll kind of divulge this dirt from my past.
Sure.
This dirt. Oh, this
true story.
It's funny. I don't know.
Okay. Well, we'll talk first about the 8-ball, I guess, because that's what I have up. Mario, he loses 8-5 in the finals to Ralph Souquet. So Ralph Souquet gets another European championship. And I remember seeing Ralph's page, and he said like this was like his 20, I'm making up a number now. I believe it was 28, his 28th European championship. And his first one was in 1988. So you want to talk about a career. Like we're kind of celebrating Tom Brady coming back from, retirement after 6 hours of being retired, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Ralph Souquet started in 1988. He's been playing this game at an elite world-class level for how old am I? For 34 years. This guy's been at the top or dang near the top. You want to, that's just incredible. I just don't understand that level of longevity, that level of elite focus. Like how many people can even focus for 34 years at one thing?
Well, it just shows, his strengths are so much designed around, his mental game, his pattern play, his game management, all these things to where, players that play the style of a Jason Shaw, it's very hard to stay at the top for all that long because it just takes so much, it's just, you got to be absolutely lightning in a bottle to keep pocketing balls like Shaw's pocketing. And it'll be interesting. I'm not saying he won't last 10 years, but it's very, very challenging. Whereas someone like Ralph, it's like he's been playing since 1988. How many hard shots have you really seen him shoot in 34 years? It's been, it's not many. You know what I mean? And so it's like he has a style to where he was never the number one player in the world in terms of who's the big money match race to 100 guy. Like Shane was always the favorite over him, or maybe there was always somebody that was maybe like a favorite if they played a heads up long set. But in terms of just consistent top finishes year after year after year, I think in the 90s he wasn't quite as dominant. But once 2000 rolled, I remember live watching the 2002 U.S. Open. He beat Alex Pagulayan, and that was the first time I really see him win, a major. And then after that, it's just been 20 years where he's never been the number one player in the world, necessarily, but he's always been in the top 5 for 20 years, and that's unheard of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I found his post now. He's had 23 individual gold medals. So just individual, he's had 23, and he's had 40. He's been playing for 47 years, and he has 38 total medals. So you want to talk about consistency? 38 total medals, and 23 of them are gold. When he gets there, he gets the job done. It's crazy. It's incredible. The guy's 47 years playing this game. The guy's a legend. Why does he not? Let me ask you guys this: why does he not get more consideration for the greatest player of all time? He's had the most Whirlpool Masters ever. He's won by far the most Euro Tours ever by a matter of 12.
I think that
the most Whirlpool Masters
from the media.
Well, I think that there's two things. One thing is that, like I said, he's not at any one time. He's not maybe considered the most dominant player on the planet. There's an argument where Shaw was, Filler might have been the most dominant, or maybe Federer is right now, or Shane was in 2010 or something. But Ralph has never been in the spot where nobody in the world wants to play him, but he's always been in the spot where he can play anybody and get there. So that's the first thing. The other thing is his style. It's a little fly under the radar. It doesn't catch the attention and the applause, and so he doesn't make the highlight reels as much, and he doesn't do, he just gets the job done. And actually, I think another person that fits that too is Neil Stan. If you watch Neil Stan, it's been 20 years he's been at the top. And again, Niels has never been the number one player in the world in terms of nobody will play him or he's completely dominant over everybody. But yet for 20 years, he's always been one of the top 5 or 10. You know what I mean? So it's I think Niels and Ralph are very similar in the sense that they've never dominated pool, but they've always been a threat to win every major they've played their whole career.
Yeah, I look at a player like Jim Rempe and how long he went and played at a high level in his career, and he's kind of in line with the Kaiser too. He's just that kind of player. Still playing. I'm sure he played pretty darn good, even at his age now. Yeah.
I'm just looking at Ralph.
Loves the
Here's
game,
Ralph.
you know?
Here's Ralph's
just loves
resume,
it.
I guess. He's won the World 9-Ball Championship in '96, the World 8-Ball Championship in 2008, the World Cup of Pool. He's won the U.S. Open. He's won the U.S. Open 9-Ball. He's won the U.S. Open Straight Pool. He's won the World Pool Masters 6 times. He's won the World Games. He's been on the Moscone Cup. He's won the Moscone Cup 7 times. I think he's been on it another 10 times, close to it. He's won the Derby City Classic 9-Ball 3 times. 23-time Euro Tour winner, 23-time European Pool Championship winner. You just look at this thing. It's just accolade after accolade, championship after championship, and yet when it comes down to who's the greatest player of all time, his name isn't even on there.
Yeah, I think people tend to think about highest year as opposed to best career. So when you think about the highest year, you think about Earl Strickland, or you think about Shane, or you think about Shaw. But that's like, it's just different ways of measuring. So it's like it's almost like talking about poker and saying who's won the most money on a single hand
or who's
versus who's got the biggest career
now.
earnings. You know what I mean? It's like he doesn't necessarily win the biggest hand. You know, he might not have the highest straight pool. Like, you know, Suke has never run, 700 balls in straight pool. And I doubt he's run as many racks at 10 ball as Shane or something. But, that's just like that's what makes a highlight reel. And Ralph doesn't do that. But if you wanted to look at like, who's got the most, consistent finishes over a 10-year period, I don't know that anyone's going to beat him. So,
yeah. I mean, it's incredible the career of this guy. It kind of goes back to like the Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Like if you're gonna say something about like whether or not LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan, what you end up saying is his career has been better for longer, and that's kind of like the argument that people give over LeBron over Michael Jordan. And I'm sure you guys are completely out of your elements here, but I mean, you can't find anybody with a longer, better career than Ralph. It's just. The dude is still winning at a dang near elite level. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's not the domination factor for Ralph. I mean, we talk about these great players. They dominated for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. All tournaments, wherever they went, they were the dominant. Where he has been in the top 10 for 30 years.
Yeah, and I don't know. So there's Patrick Neal made some comments about other players. I actually don't think that Siegel and Strickland meet that criteria because Siegel played top pool in the 80s and 90s, but he bowed out when he was still at the peak of his career. He just quit playing. Meanwhile, Strickland played top level pool for probably like the mid 80s until about 2005, and then he hasn't been at the same level since. So like in terms of being competitive at the like realistically able to win a major, Ralph has been realistically able to win a major for 30 years. And I don't know that there's many players that have done that. And then the problem with Efren is Efren didn't come to the States until he was in his late 20s, or I don't know how old he was, 30 years old, but but whatever he was, he was, there was 10 or 12 years at the front end of Efren's career that we never saw because he was still south of the border. So it's like the bottom line is that there's not been that many examples of people that have that type of longevity at the highest levels. There's people that have competed for that long, but not one at the top levels for that long. I mean, I'm sure there's people, but those would be my responses to Rempe, Siegel, and Strickland. That's all.
I wish we could have saw Earl at the Moscone Cup this year. I really do. I was so hyped up for that.
I did see him there.
Yeah.
I don't know what you were looking at, but I saw him there.
Yeah. You know what I mean.
I'm just kidding. All right. So, I guess that's, great for Ralph Suke. I love it. I love the idea that he's still and he's like a super nice guy, like one of the nicest guys you're going to meet too. So awesome. Good for him. All right, let's move on to the 9-ball where Niels Fine gets the win over Daniel Guttenberger. Pretty awesome for Niels. So I guess we're talking I guess Niels isn't super old, right? He's probably 44. Does that sound right? Somewhere in there?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
I'll go with that. It's like Wikipedia. Somebody can edit it, but as long as we are first to market, we'll just say he's 44 as of our opinion.
Yeah, well, you can just kind of say whatever you want, and as long as nobody fact checks you, you're good. So he's 45. Right. Okay. So he just had a birthday last month, and he's 45. So actually, we have a birthday one day apart. Huh? Who'd have known? So Niels Fine gets the win over Daniel Guttenberger. Let's see here. I don't even know who either of these players are in the semifinals, which just shows the depth of European pool, I guess. Jacob Conier and Jani Uski. There's too many good Europeans. It's sick. There are too many good Europeans. I guess awesome for Niels. I heard a story. I guess we'll let you talk your story here in a second, Demetrius, since we're on it if you want. But I remember I was having a conversation with someone, and basically Matchroom is trying to get Niels to go full time to the booth, kind of like what Carl's doing. And Niels is like, "Why are you trying to get? Like, are you going to go to Jason Shaw and tell him to stop playing pool and go into the booth?" And Matchroom's like, "No, he's in the prime of his career." And Niels is like, "Yeah, so am I. Why are you trying to get me out of it?" Like, but that's literally what I was told that he told them, was that he is still in the prime of his career.
Yeah,
and he's not trying to stop playing pool. Like, that's what his career is, and he's not trying to stop anytime soon.
No.
I mean, that's,
he's said a lot on his YouTube channel about how he was physically, I mean, he was playing amazing offense from in the 2000 to 2010. And then over 2010 to 2015, he worked really, really hard on his safety game, his 10-ball break, and then also his jump shot's gotten a lot better. So it's like these were the skills. So, I mean, when he was playing top pool in 2004, 2005, well, then the game switched to 10-ball. Jump cues really went a long way, and the safety play started getting tougher and tougher. And he elevated each of those parts of his game to get competitive. Now, meanwhile, he's also, when it comes to mental game, this guy is a beast. He trains hard mentally. He spends a lot of time. He even has a mental course. Shout out to the the Terminator College or something. If you look at Niels Spann, if you search Niels Spann, the first thing that'll come up is his online college. He's got like a mental game course, and he has a visualization exercise on YouTube if you go to his channel. So it's like this guy physically trains, mentally trains. He's got all of his pieces developed. He's got confidence. He's got a belief in himself based on his resume, and he's still young enough, and he's in great shape. He has the stamina. Like, why would he not continue to be at the top of the game another 5, 10 or more years for sure?
Yeah, I love that response. Would you ask Jason Shaw to leave? No, he's in the prime of his career. So am I. I just love that. That's an amazing statement, and that's just shows his mindset, why he's still able to compete at the highest levels. So cool, good for him. All right. Did you want to tell your story about Niels, Demetrius?
Yeah. So this is 2004. I did not know who Niels Spann was. Okay, he was not. This is like just before he made the front cover of every magazine. I went to Las Vegas for a team tournament for my leagues. I was playing leagues. And while I was down there, they had a pro event going on. And I'll just say it was Jimmy Wedge was our top player in Minnesota at the time. Yeah. Jimmy Wedge was, ranked as high as 5th in the world during the 1990s. He made the finals of the World Championship at 8-ball. He won a few 9-ball majors. Anyway, so Jimmy was Jimmy was known more for his money games, right? He had a big gambling background where he ran the roads for 5-10 years during the 90s, and he matched up and played guys like C.J. Wiley and Reed Pierce and different Jeff Carter and guys like that. He would play these money matches where he'd be playing 10 ahead sessions, and those sessions would last for a day and a half, and they'd go from 9 ahead to the other guy getting 9 ahead. Anyway, so Jimmy was like the seasoned road warrior gambler professional player, and two of the guys on my team really wanted to see Jimmy get into an action match. They'd heard all these stories. They're all big fans of Jimmy because he was our top player. They wanted to get him into a game. And they came to me and they said, "Hey, Jimmy has a game. Like, we got a game for Jimmy. This guy is going to play him 10 ahead for 2,000. Jimmy said he'd play if we back him. He said he doesn't really want to put up the money against some European he doesn't know, but of course it's Niels, right? Yeah. That's where this is going. So he says, but he said if we back him, he'll play, and we just want to make the game 10 ahead, 10-ball. They're going to play 10 ahead, 10-ball on this tight pocketed table out at the Q Club. So they said, here's the deal. We want you to go in with us. We want to go 3-way on the $2,000. So 666 a piece or whatever. And I should have known right there, number of the beast. I should have known. So anyway, I brought $600 worth of gamble. I'm like, I might as well fire it at Jimmy Wedge, just as, if nothing else, at least, 10 ahead. I mean, this could last a day and a half. I get to see some good pool. So I put up the 666. and we all put up. And as we're posting the money, I almost said his name. One of my teammates comes to me. Remember, these two guys twisted my arm to be the third person to go in with them. But now we're going to post the money. Niels is there, Jimmy's there, everyone's there. We're posting the money. And one of my teammates that was supposed to come up with a third comes up to me and says, hey, I just had this problem. My ex-wife and this thing, and she drained this bank account and the next paycheck, and I can pay you back, but can you cover my third for today? And I was just in this bad spot where it's like everyone's there waiting for the money to be posted, so I had to come out of pocket and cover his third. Okay. The match goes down. It was over in 46 minutes. We paid an hour for the table time. It was like the table minimum. Niels Fayen got 10 ahead in 12 racks. I still remember he broke the balls 11 times. He made a ball 10 out of 11, and he ran out 9 out of 10. And I'm talking breakouts and jump shots and bang shots, and he's just and on this tight pocketed pool room cloth table. He ran that table over. It was 46 minutes. Like, not only did our horse lose, like we didn't even get anything. Like he only got to the table like once. It was unbelievable. It was just like this Niels show, you know. I mean, rah. And so we're all just like, and so then we go pay off the bet. And at this point, I'm convinced that Niels is the best player in the world. I've never seen anything like that before. And so then the other one of my teammates that did put up his third, he's like, oh no, this is bad. This is bad. He starts getting really freaked out. So I'm like, hey, what's going on? You know, and we started talking. So we go for a walk because he's acting like it's the end of the world. Well, he was kind of a stay-at-home dad, and his wife was this executive bread earner, you know, the breadwinner. And apparently finances have been like a tension point in their marriage. And him even going to Vegas to play this team event with us was like this pain point that like they got into a steaming fight about. And somehow he'd gone, but it was like, she's like, you're going to do something stupid and all this stuff. And anyway, he apparently got the money by using a cash advance on some emergency only credit card that he had, where it was like, you know, if things get really bad, use this credit card. So he did a cash advance on that credit card to cover the third. Oh, no. And so he's like, we're going to get divorced over this, man. He's like, she's going to divorce me. And he's like really freaked out. So check this out. I have to cover his third, call his wife and explain that I got in over my head and I went off like a rocket because I don't have any self-control, and that my buddy had to bail me out, and that's why he used the credit card, was to save me. So not only did I have to cover both of the thirds for the people that talked me into this, but then I had to then be the guy that was like, yeah, I'm the degen that lost all the money, and I'm sorry. So now to this day, she thinks I'm a total schmuck. So it was pretty unbelievable, man.
To this day, you're the total schmuck. That means they're still together.
That's a perfect story.
So I feel like at least
exactly how it goes down in real life too.
We have a very good, at least hopefully I helped in some way. And so anyway, but the funny part is these are actually pretty good friends. And over the next, I did get paid every penny back. It took some time. Nice. It took some time, but it was in the pool world. That's like hitting runner spades to make a flush. That's pretty amazing. So, all right, that's all I got.
I think Sarah said it perfectly. You better hope that the wives aren't podcast listeners.
Yeah, I would be surprised. And anyway, I mean that's 20 years ago. It's water under the bridge.
Why would you be surprised? This is a great podcast. Why would
Did you learn your lesson, Demi? That's what Ed wants to know.
So you never bet against somebody you don't know. But the thing is, like, I totally didn't care. But I mean that's the first thing. And then that was anyway. That's when Niels Fayen was in my mind. And then some other day, if I haven't already told the story, I have another Niels Fayen story that's a good follow-up to that one, but maybe next time.
The Mineridge boot camp, that's what Patrick said.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm the last person on the planet. Jeez. I need like 7 games to 8 on that one.
$2,000 down, and one of your partners on your team is divorced. I mean, how much better can it get than that?
This game's not that hard. All you got to do, do I know these? I know these people, don't I?
Probably.
I don't know.
They were probably a little older than you, Demi.
Yeah.
We'll
talk.
I probably know them too, but anyway.
Well, let's narrow it down like a game of Guess Who.
Yeah, I have a statistic here that I was my passion now is three cushion billiards, of course, and we talk about pocket pool. But I did run across a statistic today that I thought was pretty interesting. I was looking up a player. His name is Dion Nellen. He's from Denmark, and he was a champion from the time he was 17 in three cushion billiards, and he went pro when he was like I don't know, in 2018 or whatever. But this guy has won 8 different championships in Denmark in three cushion between the time he started when he was 17 until now. And I wanted to ask Jim about him if he knew who he was, Dion Nellen.
Well, I'm sure Jim's probably tuning in. He has nothing better to do with his life. Come on, Jim. Let's see you in the chat room.
Yeah, no, he's working probably.
Oh, Patrick Neal asks, Neil's is, I guess, one day before my birthday. He's the 3rd of February.
But my point here was that I looked up where his standings are in the rankings, world rankings for three cushion billiards, and he's ranked number 21 out of 30. And then I looked, of course, at all the rest of them, 1 through 30. And what hit me right up front, not one American was on that list. The top 30 three cushion players in the world, not one American. And I went, wow. There's a few pretty good players in this country, but
you better step your game up, Rob. You need to get your name on that list.
Right. Well, that's another thing too. On the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th of April, this next month, in Madison, Wisconsin, at the billiard club there is going to be a world champion, world-class South American player in the tournament that's going to be going on at the time. There's going to be 32 players in the tournament, but Luis Vega is going to be there. He recently ran 21 and out on somebody over there in Boston at Mazen Shuni's place, Amazing Billiards, just outside of Boston. So he's going to be there in Madison. If anybody in the area is interested in coming and watching, more than likely he will make it to the finals, and that'll be Saturday and Sunday, the 9th and 10th of April, probably. They won't be able to watch me because my chances of getting to the finals are pretty slim.
Okay, I'll go watch. Why not? What do I better do?
I'll tell you what, three cushion is such an amazing game for anybody listening that hasn't played it. Especially like if you know how the cue ball works and you know how spin works and you know how to manipulate your cue ball and you know kind of general, like, you know, some general around the table type paths. If you start playing that game and actually like just learn a little bit about there are some shots.
Yeah, you don't even need to know a lot.
But there are shots that come up in three cushion that you would, I mean, you know, one pocket is close. Like you can come up with some pretty inventive shots, but like three cushion, you do things to the cue ball that are so low percentage, you would never, ever, ever get to try them in a pool game. And when you try them and then they work, it is like, you just don't really feel that way playing pool. It's a pretty fun game.
You know, there's a one pocket shot where your opponent can leave you behind the stack, right up next to the stack. And he's got a ball 3 or 4 inches out of his corner pocket, maybe a couple balls. Well, if you know how to play three cushion, you can 2-rail kick on the outside of that ball and push it over toward your pocket and be pretty darn accurate on it. I can do it on a billiard table and do it 80% of the time and hit it right. And
I wouldn't be able to do that if there was no stack.
The worst that can happen is you miss the ball, you go back up to the stack, and you lose 1 point anyway. So,
yeah, I'm so low percentage. I'd take a foul, even if I was on 2 fouls already. I just get it over with.
Most people would at that point. They'd just take a foul. But if you play three cushion, you have some answers to that are really a fairly high percentage.
I'm with Ryan. I can't pocket a ball anyways. Maybe I should play three cushion. Except for I've played that game before, and I think I have about 600 innings, and I have about 3 billiards. So maybe I should take up curling.
You go through a bit of a drought, playing that game.
It's a hard game.
That's the one caveat is if you're going to play three cushion and you're not a top player, you should probably at least have some good music on in the background or something to kind of hedge a little bit against those 20-inning dry spells.
Or an awesome podcast.
You're a pocket pool player, learning how to play, just learning the fundamentals of three cushion, that's not going to hurt your pocket pool game at all. you're gonna be elevated in that game a little bit when you're in situations. Especially today, I saw this kicking system on Facebook, the Z banking kicking system. You multiply this number times that number, and then you know on where you have to hit the first rail. And this was pocket pool that they were talking about, the Z bank kicking system. And I went, well, for pocket pool, yeah, that comes up once in a blue moon.
I don't even know why that's why I'm laughing. I don't even know why. I'm sorry if anybody listening was like the inventor of the system. Like for me, I look at how often does it come up, and then like if like I Z kick at a ball like annually. I don't even understand why somebody would practice that.
Right. But in billiards, in 3-cushion billiards,
it does.
You can actually kick that shot and get it, or you can play off of a ball and then just adjust a little bit of inside or outside spin, depending on which side you hit the object ball on. In 3-cushion, that shot comes up in almost every single game you play, maybe numerous times in the game. So there's a place for that Z bank. 3-cushion is where it's at with that.
All right, let me mix it up. I'll do a real quick answer on this. Do I like coaching older people? Yeah, so first of all, I don't think it's so much about age as opposed to like, open-mindedness, curiosity, and humility. I think that anybody, you could be 15 years old. And in fact, a lot of young kids either think they know it all or they think they've got it all because the beginning of their trajectory, they get better and better very quickly and everyone's patting them on the back. So they don't think they need help or they think they have it all figured out. So anybody can be closed-minded at any age. And I don't think it's about age. I think it's about open-mindedness and humility. Among the people what I like about working with older people is that they've spent many, many years where pool's been a part of their life. So either they've been playing pool a long time and have plateaued, or it's been peripheral in their life while they've had other stuff going on. But either way, it's like they have this lifelong relationship with the game. And then to allow them to basically develop that relationship and have a kind of a grown-up understanding of it. So it's like somebody's been playing pool a long time as a hobby that they're kind of interested in, but not all in on. And then maybe they have more time as they're retired or as they have more hours. And now they want to take, maybe they've been successful in their careers and as a parent and in other areas of their life. And they're like, hey, I played this game a little bit as a kid in bars. Now I've got more time. I've been successful in all these other places in my life, so I know that I can be successful at stuff I put my mind to. Now I'd like to turn that and see if I can't do something with this game that I've always loved. And so to take people that love the game and are eager to develop a more mature relationship with the game they've loved all their life and help them do that, it's very satisfying. And there's absolutely no roadblocks. And as far as like, do they resort back to bad habits? I mean, yes and no. Like if there's certain things that they've been doing wrong for 50 years, that can be a challenge. But on the other hand, there are some things that don't revert. So like if, for example, if you don't know a shot and then you learn that shot and now that shot comes up, you're not going to revert to not knowing the shot. So there's certain things that if you do things the right way in instruction, you can achieve lasting changes to somebody's game because, these things are not something that just fade away or forget. Because I'm not a fundamentally based instructor where what I'm not doing is taking people that have stroked the ball a certain way for 50 years and changed their setup. Like that's not really what I do. So it's not a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Well, are we ready to continue moving on, I guess, with these results? Probably are, huh? All right. The European 10-ball championships. Wojtek Szewczak loses in the finals to Sanjin Pelovanovic. Boo! I watched this one. I wanted Wojtek to win. Made me sad. Made me very sad. All right, Niels and Roberto Bartol get third, fourth. I guess
there
Sanjin,
again, Niels is right up there toward the top.
Yep, bronze medal again. So I thought this was kind of interesting. The Sanjin Pelovanovic. We all kind of saw that video of what he did last year in the finals, I believe. Are you guys familiar with that? Nope. Okay, so he makes a great shot to get down to a straight-in 9-ball to beat Joshua Filler in the finals. Yeah. He gets a little loose on his 7-ball, gets kind of a weird back angle on his 8-ball that he has to shoot in with a pretty sharp cut and just a ton of inside spin. Executes it perfectly, gets down really nicely onto the 9-ball, almost straight in, but bridging off the rail. and shoots it right into the inside jaw or the outside jaw of the pocket, and that was to win.
It was
Josh
to win
ends
a
up going
Euro.
on to running up.
Well, what I think is relevant is that when he made that 8-ball,
it's to win the European Championships last year.
Yeah, that would have been his biggest win. And I'll tell you what I remember about that is that when he had the hardest 8-ball, he had to cut that 8-ball in with a ton of spin, and he had to make that ball, and he made it. And after he made it, he looked at the crowd and went, "Yeah!"
Yeah.
And then he got down, and as the cue ball froze on the rail, and he's like, he got down and missed that 9, and it was like, talk about it was like the premature celebration nightmare of all nightmares. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, so painful, man.
Oh, that is.
So, I mean, it just seems like pool is more poetic than other sports. So with like the Alex Kazakis meltdown in the year prior to come back and winning it.
It's more brutal. I wouldn't say poetic.
I mean, Alex Kazakis was much more of a meltdown than Sanjin. Sanjin just missed a ball, right? He missed one ball, and it's probably up until that point, maybe the biggest ball in his career that he had missed. And then comes back the next year and wins. Pretty cool. I like it. Makes me happy.
I hear people saying a lot while they're playing pool is after they make this just incredible shot, whatever it was, like, where's the love? They get stuck behind one of their opponent's balls in the corner and they're just dead locked, trapped somewhere.
Yeah. Pool is such a brutal game, man. It's
brutal.
And it's like, just, I feel for these guys. I mean, who hasn't gone through this? And it's just an amazing game that no matter how good you get at this game, there are more. So, you know what? Okay. I did the one thing I did because I was talking about consistency or inconsistency. And I was talking about on the last podcast I did with Josh, I was talking about how everyone has a range. So like if I'm 730, sometimes I play 650, sometimes I play 800. But after I got done with the podcast, I realized something. I'd like to say on my bad days that I play like a 650, but that's kind of misleading. What I would say is on my bad days, I play like a 700 90% of the time. And then like I lapse into like 100, like here and there periodically, or I turn into a 50. So it's like, I don't like on my bad days, I don't play 650 pool. No. On my bad days, I play 700 pool with some like zeros mixed in. And it's really funny to think about it that way. But that's what happens. Like once in a while, no matter how good you get, you could just turn into a 0 Fargo rate at any moment. I don't know.
At any moment, it can bite you.
Yeah. So the average is 650, but that doesn't feel good when it's your turn to throw the 0.
Right. Pool is a lot of 100% focus 100% of the time. I mean, if you're off that 6-7% on one shot in one rack in one match, you may be out of the match.
At the highest levels, definitely. So
yeah.
I don't know. Let's move on to the 14.1. We actually had another almost like a resurgence of a player. Roman Hebler loses in the finals to Joshua Filler, but that would have been awesome.
Yeah, Roman's
a great player. So Joshua Filler gets the win there. Third place again, Neil's fine, and Mario He. So another great. I'm gonna sneeze pretty soon. This is bad.
Oh no.
I did do a video call with Jim earlier. I think he gave me Corona through FaceTime. Is that possible, you think?
Well, consider yourself blessed for that.
All right. Well, let's go on to the ladies 14.1 because we almost got to see an all Filler winner. Pia Filler ends up losing in the finals. Oh no, this was 8-ball. Never mind. This would have been the 8-ball. Although she placed high in the 14.1 too. So Pia Filler gets second in the women's 8-ball. Or no, sorry, Pia wins the 8-ball. She wins the 8-ball over Anna Grodzenik. So great for Pia. I think this might be her first European championship, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is her first one. She's made it to a couple finals, but I think this is her first one. So good for her. Awesome to see. On to the women's 9-ball, and Olivia Zaluska gets first place in a whitewash over Anna Grodzenik. So again, she's up there. Great for her. And in the women's 10 ball, Alul Gabaroglu. I finally figured out how to say that. Gabaroglu. And then Ina Kaplan gets second place. And I love Ina. Ina's awesome. She's been on the women's VG events a whole bunch. She's a great player. Do you guys think it's takes away from this event a little not having Allison or Kelly or Yasmin or those types of players at this event? They're kind of more well known.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, they've played in a bunch of them, I guess. So it's but actually, I'm not even sure if Kelly and Allison can play in them anymore. I suppose they can't. Right now that the UK is not a part of the EU anymore. It's not part of Europe.
Oh.
So,
is it a continent on itself or what?
Well, I mean, it's part of Europe, the continent, but they pulled out of the EU with Brexit. So I'm not sure if they're even allowed in this anymore. Someone in the chat, if you know whether or not they can play or not, let us know.
Yeah, I think you're right, though, Nate. I think in the end, when people win a tournament, you gauge kind of like how prestigious that tournament is by who is in the field. And so when you're like, well, who is playing? And if the answer is people you don't know, it's easy to be like, well, okay, good for them. However, what I will say is that these days, just because you don't know somebody, just like I didn't know Dios Fan in 2004, let me tell you, just if you show me a championship in Europe with a bunch of names I don't know, I don't think to myself, oh, those guys are a bunch of schmucks. It's like, no, those, as far as I'm concerned, they're all world champions until I've seen differently.
Yeah. What was what was Jimmy's reaction at that time when that happened? When he just got kicked,
I actually have to be very careful with what I say because I know Jimmy and I like Jimmy.
Sure.
It was a pretty tough loss. I mean, it was a pretty tough loss.
That's enough said.
But I mean, the thing about it is that like he didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? It's like, like what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
But I think that it's safe to say like he didn't really play pro pool after that, and so I will say it made me wonder if that loss and the way it went down. It made me wonder if that loss and the way it went down was kind of a tipping point in his mind as to whether or not he can still be competitive at the highest levels of the game, because the game definitely got tougher from the 90s to the 2004 or 5. Now that's a speculation. I don't know. All I know is I saw what happened, and I saw that was one of the last pro events I saw him play.
Okay, sure.
I can't connect cause and effect, but I think it was a pretty tough one, man.
It's still a fact.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough action.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to make it a little easier on him knowing
I played matches and not shot
the person he was.
Not had a turn. So it can happen.
Well, and he obviously did that to many players to get where he did. And anyway, he's got, as far as I'm concerned, he's only got things to be proud of in his career.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For sure. Yep. Okay, so then the women's 14.1, we'll finish out with this one. Pia Filler. So this is what I was talking about earlier when I was, Pia Filler almost joined Joshua, her husband, and sweeping the 14.1, but she loses into the finals to Amelia Matas, a very good Spanish player. And that is going to, I guess I'll give a shout out to the under 23 winners. Emil Andre Gagflat, one of the winners, Moritz Nohausen, and then that's it for those two. And then Finland beats Poland in the finals of the team event, but I won't go into that one, I guess. So European Championships are all done now, and I wish that was a better timing for us, obviously, with the on the other side of the world. I would have liked to have watched a little bit more of this because honestly, I think it's done pretty well. If there's anything that I'm sad about, it's like if you ever watch a Euro Tour or European Championships and you see that they have seating for like 500-600 people minimum, and there's always like 1 or 2 people in the stands. It's kind of it's kind of a sad thing to see. I wish that there was a little bit better than that. But
you think Kelly Fisher's the favorite in this upcoming WPPA event?
Well, we'll talk about the WPBA event in just a second once we finish this one out. So can we hold that for just a second? Or I guess maybe I should say, is there anybody? Is there anything else that we want to discuss for the European Championships? No, I guess not. All right. So I guess let's go into the WPBA event. I have a players list here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's 64 players that are signed up in this tournament. A couple of the bigger names, we'll say: Monica Webb, Carlin Powell, Kelly Fisher, Allison Fisher, Emily Duddy, Jennifer Beretta, Kim Newsom, Joanne Mason Parker, Kaylee Mcintosh. I don't actually see April Larson's name on here. That's sad.
She's got to go. She's got to be in.
She's not on here. I wonder why that's the case. She's from Minnesota. Why wouldn't she go to this?
Yeah, why wouldn't she?
I think she's living. Is she living in Texas now?
Yeah,
I think she's playing in a tournament in Texas. I know,
but she's from Minnesota.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe Jim gave her COVID. I don't know.
Well, if somebody out there knows why April's not playing, let us know.
Well, Ryan knows that she's not playing, so maybe Ryan knows why she's not playing too. So, I guess a couple other ones: Joanne Ashton, Jeanette Atwell, Bonnie Arnold, Lori John is playing, Brittany Bryant, Ashley Burrows. There's a lot of really, really, really good players in this field. So, I guess with all of those top names and the rest of them, you asked, do we think Kelly's going to win this event? I don't know. Rob, why don't you give us an argument for or against it?
For who's going to win? Is Jasmine there? Jasmine and Allison are both there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
As is Monica Webb and Jennifer Beretta.
How about the Norwegian player? Is she going to be there? What's her name? No, she's a star from Norway. Yeah. Okay. Those three are my favorite. Those three for the top three spots.
Stepping out on a limb there.
Ever since I've been watching Kelly play back in the COVID days with the VGs and all that, I just think she's just pounding them balls, and she's liking it. She's having fun doing it. When you watch players, they can be serious, but you know whether they're having fun or not. And it's always that one player that's got that little smile in the back of their head and also playing great at the same time. And that's how she's playing. So, I give her the edge in this tournament over Allison and Jasmine.
I can't argue that. I mean, Kelly's playing monster pool. Demetrius, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. The other thing is, in terms of timing, I mean, she's just hitting her stride, right? She's got to be playing absolutely the best pool of her life. She's been on the scene. She's been mixing it up in the the open events with the top men players of the world and doing well. She's just starting to really. She spent all this time putting her game together, and now it finally looks the way she's always wanted it to, and she's having fun with it. And meanwhile, the competition, it takes a heck of a player to take a set off her. So it's like, but of course, it's hard to win, and when you're the favorite. And you have, expectation and pressure, and is this my time? And all you have to do, I mean, there's enough competition in that field where, and she's not at the level to where she's beyond having a rough set. So it's like, she's vulnerable, but, she's got to be a front runner.
I just read a post.
Demetrius, what is the level that it starts at where you're not capable of having a rough set?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a level at which it doesn't matter. So like if Shane played in that field, he might have a rough set where it would take a Kelly Fisher or a Jasmine to beat us. So I mean,
you're saying,
I'm not saying
in relation to your competitors.
In relation, like there are certain, and I don't think it happens at the pro level, but I think it happens in regional events. You can have regional events where you've got one or two guys that are like 750 Fargo playing in a tournament with mostly 600 Fargos, and it gets to the point where, unless it's super super short set, it gets to where it's like sets can be lost. But it's double elimination, and I felt this way when Shane used to come and play in our I've seen Shane play in like our regional tournaments where it's like Shane we'd be playing races to 5 bar table 8 ball, and you've got like 64 players that are all good players, but Shane plays so good that it's just hard to win a single set off him. And then even if you do, it's double elimination, and he almost feels like, yeah, I'll just win it from the B side. So there are times when you've got a real mismatch. We always used to call it the alien in the field. If you got like an alien in the field, so I'm saying Kelly Fisher, she's not the alien in the field because there's enough competition to where if she plays a bad set, there's definitely people that could beat her. But she's definitely got a liker end of it. So
yeah, I
there's
just
at
read a
least
little
two
something
players.
that Jennifer Beretta posted about a kind of an epiphany she's having recently in the mental part of pool, and it sounded very positive to me. So I wouldn't.
Well, and Jennifer,
talk
I'll
her
tell you
up.
what. One of the fun, like I don't know Jennifer well. Like if we saw each other in a tournament, I'm not even sure that she would, know me. But we actually played in that queued up event with Nate and everything, and we got to play one match as a team. And she ran 3 of her racks against the Ghost, 3 out of 3 to get me in a position to score that point. And I'll tell you what, man, she's totally. Jennifer's another one that plays a lot of open events. She plays
Oh, yeah.
Derby. She plays Turning Stone. She's not afraid of playing the top men players. She's been
She
working
gets
on
in
her
men's
game.
tournaments.
So I mean, the competition, I think that in the 90s, I think that maybe if you played in a women's pro event and you were as good as Kelly is, maybe like when Allison was coming, back in the day she was dominating pool.
Yeah.
I think that there was good players. Of course, there's Lori John Jones and Jeanette Lee, and I'm not, but I think that the level of the women's play has gotten better over 20 years, and it's getting harder and harder to think that you're just going to go win a WPBA event. You've got to earn it. So that's it.
Right.
Yeah. So let's give it. I guess you guys don't have the list in front of you. I mean, I agree with everything you guys have said. I'm going to give a dark horse that I think could actually make a top 3 finish, maybe even do better if she really puts together a tournament. Watch for Kaylee Mcintosh. She is playing some stupid good pool. I think she's got to be I'm going to get this completely wrong. Let me actually check this. Maybe she has it on her Facebook page. But I think she's 17 or 18 or something like that. Super young. Maybe she's a little bit older than that. Yeah, I'm not even, it doesn't say on here. Okay, so she's young. And she's playing really, really, really good pool in the Florida area. And she's winning a lot of events and placing high in a lot of other ones. And I think it would be awesome to see it. I think it'd be really, really awesome to see her be able to. The draw's even out. She plays Brittany Bryant first match, so that'll be a pretty tough one for her. But I'm telling you, I've never talked to her. I've never seen. I've only seen what she can do from a distance and watched, where she's finished in a couple of matches and a couple of events.
You got the brackets there, Nate, already?
Well, apparently they're up already on the CompuSport, so maybe I can pull up the.
They are on CompuSport. Okay.
Yeah. So, well, she at least took a picture of it and sent it out there that she's playing Brittany Bryant first. So I should be able to pull it up. I would feel, although on the fly is not.
Demi, do you know this Kennedy Mayman?
Yeah, I do. I've had the luxury of working with her a little bit more last year, but she's been very, very active in the local Minneapolis scene, playing in leagues, playing in youth tournaments, playing in open tournaments, playing in she's been playing in the junior the JIC, that Ra Hanna's been running the junior international championships. So she just recently, I want to say about a month ago or less, won the the women's 18 and under down in Florida. So she's playing she's playing very strong, and she's got a lot of competitive background. Now, the WPBA, obviously it's a different event than the 18 and under, so she's going to be up against it, but she knows that, and she's not going there thinking she's going to win. She's going there to start that process and to start getting in the ring against these players.
Right. Yeah, Ryan says she's 16.
Okay, well, birthdays.
Yeah, good for her. Yeah, I got the draw up here. It's seeded, of course, so we're not going to see any big matchups in the first round as far as Although I'll say for an opening round draw, Kelly Fisher doesn't have it the easiest. It starts on Thursday. Kelly Fisher's got to play Kelly Isaac first match. That's not the easiest of draws. Kelly can play pretty good pool, so that's a pretty strong matchup starting out with.
And who's streaming this, or where can we get this? Where can we watch
This
this?
is going to be streamed from the WPBA Facebook page. So if you want to check this out, head over there, like and follow their page. It's supposed to be streamed the entire time. I know because I talked to Dean yesterday, and if they weren't going to stream it, I was going to offer to go up there and do it, but they have somebody streaming it. So perfect. I just remember they had a big event in Iowa, and there was nobody there to stream it. So there was a bunch of people basically streaming from their iPhones, and it wasn't very good.
Right.
I mean, it's better than nothing, but it wasn't very good. Actually, I think the best opening round matchup might be Brittany Bryant versus Kaylee Mcintosh. Looking at this list, I think that's going to be a really, really good one. Oh, Joanne. Oh, Lori. How about this? Joanne Mason Parker and Lori John are playing each other first round. That's a good one. Joanne Mason Parker is on the current list for the BCA Hall of Fame, so she's won a U.S. Women's Open title. That should be a great matchup. And okay, well, I'll throw up a link to the bracket in case anybody wants to check it out. It's right here. And I guess with that, I mean, well, let's close out with our 2 tips, our 3 tips, I guess, because we have 3 of us now. And this is like super old school.
No,
so everybody remembers
you and I
this.
did 2 tips each. That's what it is. So we'll do 1 tip each.
Well, we used to do 2 tips because it was just you and me when this started. When we started this,
Randy Lamar, 2 tips.
Yeah, when we started this, Rob, like Demetrius wasn't even part of the show yet. So that's how far this go back.
No.
Yeah.
Well, the 2 tip that comes from the 2 tip signia comes from Randy Lamar's speech at the induction of the Wisconsin Billiards Hall of Fame. That's where it comes from.
Yep. So fun. All right. You want to go first or second, Rob?
Very fun. Oh, my tip. Okay, here's my tip. I'm going to go mental today. And
go on.
And I'm going to stay mentally positive. I'm going to go, how many times do you hear somebody shoot and all of a sudden they're shaking their head or their hands go up in the air?
Kind of like what Demetrius just did?
Because that
you said you were going to talk about mental?
Because that cue ball is not where they wanted it, right? The cue ball is not where they wanted it. So what's happening at that moment is a ton of negativity is just embedded into their entire mental system and body. And my tip is where that ball ends up is exactly where you have to shoot it from, and that's it. No other thought about it. Don't think it's didn't go where you wanted it to, because that's not a positive thought. Just go, there it is. That's where I get to shoot it from now. And if it's a little more challenging than it would have been if it had ended where you wanted it to, well, so be it. But that can't be part of your mental process is, oh no, look where my cue ball is. You have to get rid of that. And
I think that
this is where it is. This is where I shoot it from.
I think there's a little bit where sometimes you just have to purge the mistake you just made and kind of like shake that one off. But you're right. I played a session, Rob. It makes me think of this. I played a session with a guy last Sunday where if I played him safe, he dug deep and found a way to get a hit on these shots that were not easy to hit. And his percentage to hit the ball was probably like 90%. Like he hit a lot of difficult kicks. Meanwhile, whenever he hooked himself, he'd hook himself and have a one railer and airball the thing and give me ball in hand. Because it's like because he would be so irritated with himself that he's even in that spot. And he would just get down and like airball the thing. It's like I got ball in hand 4 or 5 times when he hooked himself, and maybe once when I was playing safe all day. It's just food for thought. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is exactly kind of what I'm talking about. That's what it is. He was positive most of the time when you saved him. But when he put it there, not where he wanted it, all of a sudden,
and once again, some of that rolls up to what Josh
controls you. And if your mind's controlled, your body's controlled in pool. That's it. So, that's my tip.
Well, I had a tip, but I'm going to switch it off of that too. I'm gonna kind of go off of yours too. So this is going to be something visual, of course, because I just drew a picture, and I'm going to put this here so everybody can see it. This is the cue ball. And I'm playing somebody 8 ball. And you can see here on here. Let me get rid of this. Our cue ball is right here, right? And this person's playing stripes, and they're shooting this ball into a nice little angle into this corner pocket, and they shoot the shot, trying to get up to this stripe right here, and to play it right here because it doesn't go into this corner. So basically, what they're trying to do is they're trying to shoot their cue ball here, make this ball into this pocket, bring their cue ball here, here, and here, inside this 8 ball, which was right in the center of the table.
Okay.
And he shoots the shot, and at the end of it, I'm like, we're just messing around, we're just playing, and I'm like, why did you shoot that shot? He's like, well, because I didn't want to run into the 8 ball, so I put a bunch of inside spin on it so that it would go to the left side of the 8 ball. And basically, I'm sure Demetrius is like, well, screaming right now, and you probably are too, Rob, too. But the idea is like what you're talking about is, well, you're talking about you played a bad positional shot, right? And you're kind of shaking your head, and most people would chalk this right up here to hitting the shot bad. But he didn't hit the ball bad. That shot's impossible, right? Anytime if you put that much inside spin on the ball, like they're thinking, all right, well, I have a bunch of inside spin on this ball, right? So it's going to go into this really deep into this rail, and then it's just going to go perfectly right on the left side of the same ball. But no, the left spin just doesn't go away. Like it doesn't hit the first rail and it's like, all right, I'm done working. The left spin is still there. So what ends up happening is it hits the second rail, and then it lengthens out the second time.
Straight high English probably would have got him where he wanted to go with no spin at all.
You just can't get there. You can't get
there.
The shot's not available. The shot is not available. It doesn't matter with high spin at all. This shot is not available. You can't make this ball and get on the left side of this 8 ball to come at it like this. It just doesn't work.
Yeah,
right? You have to come all the way around the ball to be able to get into that ball. So like the idea is they're like, well, I can envision it in my head, so I know that it can happen. And really, I had to sit down with them, and I had to sit down with them with that shot, and we had to shoot it like 20 times for them to realize that shot just is not possible. It's not available. The left-hand spin that you're going to put on the ball is just not going to get you.
Then.
I made him shoot it enough to realize that shot wasn't even available to begin with.
Good for you.
And then the second time around was like, well, how do we actually make it work? Right? Because it doesn't do you any good to just realize that the shot's not available. You actually have to figure out what to do on top of that to get yourself to a point where you can do anything with it. So we sat down and we kind of worked on it to where you go around the 8 ball. We kind of did it where you draw off of it and kind of come up, where we shoot the shot more like this and come all the way around table like this. Okay. And then we had another one where we tried to just get here like this. And we messed around with it a bunch of different ways. And then we eventually ended up settling that you got to come all the way around the table for that shot. But going off of what your tip was, which is, shake it off. Yeah, sure. Shake off the shot, because wherever you're at, that's where you're shooting the shot from. But you have to look at it at some point in time. You have to have some sort of like self-realization as to what the shot you just shot is and why it went wrong. Did it go wrong because you hit it like a donkey, or did it go wrong because your understanding of how that shot works is just completely not right? And at the end of the day, like I think a lot of people's, especially like the let's say the 450 to even 650 type of as high up as 650 Fargo. I see this stuff happen a lot, even at that range too. And I catch myself doing it. That's how we learn the game, right? But you have this understanding of, and I call it the pretty girl effect, right? We as men like to think that every pretty girl we have a chance with. And that's like every shot on pool. Like every shot is like a pretty girl. And we have a shot with it.
Beer, Nate.
Yes, exactly. Every shot is like a pretty girl. And we think that we have a shot with them. But realistically, like the things that we think that we can do, as far as like, it just doesn't work, right? It just will not work. And you have to realize exactly what you can do and exactly what you can't do to be able to give yourself some sort of realistic shot at this game. So this shot is not available. It's just not a shot that's possible. You can do it if that object ball isn't there, like you could just kick at it 2 rails, like lag it 2 rails in between there. But once you introduce that object ball, the way that the cue ball is going to travel down that tangent line is going to change the entire angle that you're going into that rail with. So it's just not an available shot. So if you're playing by yourself and something didn't work out the way that you thought it would, this is like the perfect example of the 3 times drill that Demetrius does. Set it back up again, not so that you can try to hit it perfect. Set it back up 10 times to find out if the shot is even available and what it would take to make it available if it is available. And then you can decide whether or not the way that you have the breakdown from where you think you have to shoot the shot and the way the shot actually has to be hit makes it a shot worth shooting.
Yeah, I think that when you set up a layout again and again and you work on each transition and try to figure out the right way to run through the balls, to where you can do it the same way multiple times in a row. If you set up a layout and you run through it, and every time you run through it, sometimes you run out, sometimes you don't, sometimes you end up in that pocket, sometimes you have to bank that ball, and every time it's a different. Oh, this time I got to get straight, I'll draw it back, and this time I got to spin around there. Like, I don't know, man. I like to practice a run until I can run it out the same way again and again. And by doing it that way, you learn more by doing one run that way than you ever would by going through rack after rack. And just every time you miss, you break the balls and try it over. And it's just, I agree. And now that's fine some of the time. But I think some of the time you got to do these deep dives like Nate's talking about to learn what shots work, but also what the percentages are. That's a huge deal.
Yeah. You had
I think there's
something earlier about age. And somebody had asked the question on here, is it harder to teach an older player, give lessons to an older player? And I think I was 65 when I spent 8 hours with Tyler Steyer teaching me centered edge aiming fundamentals. And I went in blank minded. Like, okay, so what if I've been playing pool for 50 years? I'm zero right now. And I went into it like that. So I did take a lot away from that and use some of that. I've incorporated some of that into certain shots in the game now. And not all the shots, not everything I do is based on that, but definitely some positions on the table, I immediately fall into that centered edge type of an aiming thing. So, no, it is possible even for someone with a fairly high degree of experience at an older age to absolutely learn new things, for sure. But you have to be open-minded.
Yeah.
All right.
I just think that at some point in time, like a lot of people just, I think that there's a lot of people that just play their games with a glorified understanding of how the game works. And they shoot a shot and we're like, well, I just hit it bad, or I'd be right here with the cue ball if I'd have just hit it better. And because of that excuse that they make for themselves of the generic, oh, I guess I just hit it bad. You really lose out on a fundamental ability to understand a shot that you clearly don't understand. And giving yourself that excuse of I just hit it bad will stop you from being able to experience the game in, I guess, the best light that you possibly can, which is really, you're almost like a toddler, kind of like the way I look at pool when I'm playing is like I'm like a toddler trying to like wiggle his way through life, learning everything that I possibly can, or at least try to do that. And when you just chalk it up to I hit it bad, you're losing out on a really awesome opportunity to learn something that you don't truly understand. And I think that's what the fun part about this game is, at least for me, is like once you start including throw and cut induce throw and deflection and spin and velocities, the game just becomes infinitely complex. And if you just chalk everything up, every bad shot up to I hit it bad, you're just losing out on so much of that complexity and the truly, like, the understanding of it. It's great. All right, Demetrius, go ahead. What's your tip?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. So both of your guys' tips, it has to do with, you're talking about being open-minded when you come to train, Rob, and it's like the same thing when it comes to the game. There's if you promote yourself to expert, once people think that they know how to play the game, like, I know what I'm doing, I got this, I know what to do. As soon as you start thinking that, your curiosity goes away. And you start creating expectation where you start getting outraged about the mistakes you make and how could I miss that shot? Anyway, so all that stuff, and then talking about getting into zone, talking about all these things. Listen to the next pod I do with Josh. I think it's going to be cool. But anyway, my tip of the week is going to be an easy one. Like Nike, just do it. So here's the thing. If I had to say, like, what is the biggest leak of most pool players? You might think, well, it has to do with their fundamentals or it has to do with their cue ball, and those things are all big. But like the biggest league I see is players creating mental barriers between themselves and the next group of players that they should be playing with. So, for example, I talked to a gentleman last night, and this guy, he's about a 540 Fargo rate, and he plays in tournaments where maybe there's a lot of local leagues and a lot of local tournaments in kind of rural Minnesota where a lot of the guys he plays, he's one of the better players. He does get to play some guys that are 600 once in a while, but it's usually in a league setting or super short set. Now, here we are in Minneapolis, less than a 2 hour, maybe a 2 hour drive away. Every week we have tournaments where there's, multiple 700 plus Fargo rate tournament, players in the field. We have Friday night tournaments, Saturday afternoon tournaments, Sunday afternoon tournaments, open tournaments, all these things 2 hours away from this gentleman where you can play all the pool you want against players that are 600, 650, 700 and higher. And, when I was talking to him and he was kind of explaining why he didn't play more, and here's a guy who's, by the way, single, no kids, weekends off, professional income. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, it's a drive and, the hotel would cost money and it's expensive to go up there. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, you'd make friends and somebody's got an extra room and you can come up. And I'm like this doesn't seem like a big deal. And what I realized was I think it's more of a big step in your mind. Like I know. So then I told him the story of my first pro tournament, and my first pro tournament was not until I was in my 20s. I never played a tournament at the pro level when I was 17 or 18. And I looked back at why. And it was like in my mind, it was like this thing where they're out there and up here, and it's just this big step. And then when I played, what I found out was you just sign up, fly out, show up and play. Like it's not a big step. It's like really, really an easy step. But if you don't take it, it can feel something bigger than it is. So the point I'm trying to make is that there's always that next level of players that are, like if you're a 600, where do the 650s play? At the 650s, where do the 730s play? Or, whatever. It's like, what is that next step? And what do you have? And what I would say is I feel like it's easy to fall into this mentality that I'm just going to practice and get better. And then when I'm there, then I'll kind of get, but it's either like we want to wait or like we're more competitive. But it's like in pool, there's no pool scout. There's no talent scout that's going to be like looking around and being like, hey, you're hitting them pretty good. We're going to invite you to this. Like that doesn't really happen. Like you kind of have to invite yourself, elbow your way in at the table and say, hey, you know what? I belong here. And if I don't really belong here quite yet, I'm going to run it a few times and in a year or two, I will. You kind of have to not necessarily fake it till you make it, but you kind of have to invite yourself and be assertive because nobody's going to. It's a competitive world. Everyone's trying to advance themselves. Nobody's going to wait and try to invite you. You can't look for people to invite you and include you and welcome you and give you, here's your win. It's like, you kind of got to go get it. So I just feel like listening, if you don't have regular opportunities to get in the ring against better players and challenge yourself, then you kind of have to say, what are we waiting for? And and so my best example is Mason Cook. I mean, nobody invited him at the pro level. Nobody said, hey, Mason, we hear that you really love pool. You should start playing. It's like he's going out. He's playing the events. He's getting better. Now he's being invited to a world championship, and he's cashing in U.S. Opens. And it's like nobody invited him. He invited himself, and he didn't apologize. I feel like you've kind of got to be a little assertive with getting yourself into the next level. That's my tip.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or you could just be that person. How many times have we heard this? I already got the game figured out. I just need to practice more and get my consistency up.
Yeah.
Well, and people trying to
born to play the game. I mean, there's guys out there who are just born to play.
Well, there's a lot of people that want to practice in their basement so that they don't have to go through that phase where they get beat up and lose a bunch. But it's like, no. You can't practice in your basement and avoid loss. You got to go out and mix it up. You got to go get your teeth kicked in.
Yeah, you got to get your lumps. Yeah.
I got to stop. So I was supposed to be a short one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know how that goes, Demi.
We're perfect. We can wrap it up the podcast there. Unless anybody else has anything to say or to get off their chest, we are all good to go. Anyone?
Big fish, small pond mentality.
I don't even know that it was about a guy who was feeding off being the best player and look at me and didn't want that illusion to pop. That happens. But I think it was more of just, and it's more about inertia. It's more about inertia is that when you're not moving, it can feel like a big step to go out and play at a level that you haven't played at or drive further than you've driven before or sign up for a tournament with better players than you've played it before. It can feel emotionally like there's some inertia, like there's a big step. But what I'm telling you is once you do it, you'll laugh at how simple it is. Just go, show up and play them. And if you don't start winning immediately, stick around a year or two and watch what happens.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Good.
And-
Yep. That's a thing. All right.
okay,
Let's
man.
close it out there then.
We're gonna
Rob,
wrap
why
it
do you
up.
keep Rob, what are you doing to that shaft?
Nice.
This is
Oh,
a
that
shaft.
pool cue. The pool cue.
This is a very high deflection shaft, and I have realized after playing 10 years with a shaft that didn't deflect much, I'm much better when I play with one that does. Because that's just the way I learned.
All right. Well, we're gonna close out with a sweet ad, and thanks everybody for tuning in. See you next week.
Thanks everybody. Thanks, Dan.
Who's ready to do a Manscaped ad? Jim, are you ready to do a Manscaped ad?
I came prepared.
My balls are thanking me.
Oh, Jim, the battery just died on it. I didn't even know the batteries could die on this thing. I've been using this thing for 4.5 weeks, and the battery just died. What terrible timing!
4.5 weeks. Either you've got very small balls, or you don't grow hair very quickly. Then
Every single
I have
day.
to. I have to recharge mine after every side.
Oh, you like shaving the moon?
Yeah.
Ah,
You got to
Same amount
get.
of-
You got to get in everywhere. That's what the little torch is for.
well,
That's what
yeah.
the little torch is for. You got to go. You got to go deep, buddy. You got to go deep.
You got to
Trust
dig
me.
real deep,
Right,
don't you?
Nate, that's for you too.
The ladies will
Yeah.
thank you. Your wives will thank you. Your girlfriends will thank you. Your boyfriends will thank you. And
Even Rob will thank you.
trust
God
me,
bless the Manscaped.
There you go. I tried to convince Rob to sing for us. Rob completely wrote an entire song about the
When
Manscaped.
the Manscaped comes back at the next episode, I will sing.
Well, this might be the last time because we got to talk about it. But this is going to
Yeah.
be the last opportunity for people to support the podcast by
I'm
getting
telling you.
themselves the Manscaped.
the Lawnmower 4.0. This thing is amazing.
Designed for groin grooming. It's
No
the
double,
best.
no double passing with this. Once over, then you're done. You don't need to go back and check again. And the best bit about it is it makes it look a little bit bigger when you're finished.
Refine the gentleman in you.
Sometimes you need that, Jim.
Manscaped.
Sometimes you need that.
Sometimes you need that little bit of extra help.
Imagine shaving with a sleek, well-designed, and optimized trimmer that makes shaving time your favorite time in the bathroom. I'm one of the first people who get to try the Lawnmower 4.0.
And how does Alicia like it, Nate?
She hasn't kept her hands off me since getting it. She actually got fired from her job, and I had to lock the door just to keep her out right now. It's crazy. The craftsman and detail of the 4.0 is the next level. Manscaped engineers the ultimate groin and body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and incredible comfort grooming experience. The 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to our advanced skin-safe technology. I now feel confident shaving the boys. Yeah. Anyways, the upgraded trimmer includes a multifunctional on-off switch, which would turn on if the battery wasn't completely dead from using it for so long.
Mine's on.
There you
Don't
have it.
forget the crop
The crop
preserver.
preserver. Lots of other
and
products.
anti-chafing.
Lots
ball
of other products.
deodorizer.
Lots of other products. The upgraded trimmer includes a multifunctional on-off switch that can engage a traveling lock. It also gives the ability to turn on the 400K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. The Lawnmower 4.0 even allows you to customize your trim through additional guard lengths, sizes 1 through 4. So if you want yourself a certain length for, the boys, you can get it. Did I mention
short.
wireless charging?
Too short.
Too short.
And then there's the ball toner.
There you go. Did I mention wireless charging? The new wireless charging system allows electromagnetic induction, which can help battery length last longer. Men, if you're shaving,
with
Think
the same
long.
nut trimmer on your face, you've been doing it wrong. No person wants to end up with pubes in their mouth. That's true.
Not your own pubes anyway.
Good job,
I'm
Chief.
just saying.
It's time to get your own ball, hair, and body trimmer with Manscaped to make me time the best time and enhance your confidence with some nice, smooth boys. Get yourself 20% off plus free shipping with the code QItUpPod at manscaped.com. Check the chat. That's 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. And what's the tagline, Rob?
What's the tagline, Rob?
Your balls will thank you.
Thanks,
Your
Jim.
balls will thank you.